Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I've pulled 5 knives out of my collection to show you what I'm going to be carrying this coming winter time. So these are of course premium gentleman, like fancy schmancy knives out of my collection. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through each and every one of them. There's only 5, so it shouldn't take too long. We're going to take the weight, and the reason why I'm specifically taking the weight on these is because when I dress up, I typically wear slacks. Nice, high quality, slacks with a decent thickness seam for the pocket, but I don't want to have this giant pocket sword weighing down and creating really unattractive, unsightly seams in my pocket, because I want to dress up like a gentleman and I want to have a knife that fits the part. Yeah, we'll start with this one. So this is actually a US production custom by Monterey Bay Knives, so up here in California. This one has seen some heavy, deep engraving work done to this. I've done the anodization and coloring to this particular variation. Let's see if we can actually focus on this a little bit to see what a little bit more in detail what's going on here. So I've done a dual finish anodization on this. So yeah, and the studs as well. We'll take the weight on this. This is full thickness titanium. These things could be had for about, I've seen them as low as $300 on the secondary market, but brand spanking new, they run $400 to $450. Yes, $450 is a good chunk of money, but again, this is a handmade custom. So that's that classification of knife, again, here in the US. And again, doesn't weigh all that much. Full slabs of titanium. This is, of course, the original sea otter, and they have a large sea otter, which is really cool. I'd love to get my hands on one. The only downside to these knives is that they are stupidly thick for how small they are, and they can't cut for shit. You can use the texturing there to actually, go ahead and front flip this. So that is very easy to do with and without, nitrile gloves. It's not that difficult by any means. Detent on this is ultra light. That's just kind of how they are. No over travel, stop or nothing. So just be careful. So yeah, there's that little guy. That does actually see a lot of pocket time during the holidays, surprisingly. This one, this has been customized quite a bit. This was originally just a, we OEM'd this particular project for Fair & Forged Knife Works. I've, of course, done the finishing work to this, a heavy tumbling tealish green anodization. I've done flame bronze on the hardware. I do actually have to touch it up because it just didn't stick or didn't take the first time I did it, but not that big of a deal. Acid stone wash here on the clip as well. Acid stone wash on the blade, of course, and a flipper tab delete. So now this is only a fuller deployment, but because this is a small knife and my hands being large, extra large size, I want to have a very comfortable grip, especially if it's on something this small. So that's just a personal preference, and I think that this actually just looks that much more attractive without the flipper tab. Let's go ahead and take the weight. I do have skiff bearings in here, and a couple of the other knives that I have also have skiff bearings. You use my code JTT10 for 10% off for skiffs. 2.9, 2.8, 2.9. So let's just say this thing was about, 3.05 when it had the flipper tab on it. So this thing is definitely a good one. The price of this, I've seen this for about $150, brand new, Nitro V blade material. A questionable choice of blade material for this price category of knife, but I like Nitro V. I happen to enjoy it quite a bit. It sharpens well, holds an edge well enough, and this knife isn't something that's going to be seeing any sort of excessive use by any means. So this right here, nothing super special about it. This is the Sitivien ST995. Yes, it is the 995. It is an M390 blade material. The heat treatment on this M390 is most likely questionable, seeing as this is about a $78 knife. Yeah, this is well under $100, and you're getting M390, a beautiful semi-polished pearlescent kind of finish on the blade. It's like vapor blasted or something. It's a really nice looking blade shape. I like it quite a bit. It looks kind of like a modern traditional, and it functions quite like one as well. That little fuller there, you can get to it. It's possible for sure, but you just have a little flipper tab here. The jimping is questionable, but works just fine with a lighter detent. You do have titanium collars, which is nice, titanium bolsters, as well as shred carbon fiber scales here. Little titanium backspacer, lanyard, titanium pocket clip, milled, contoured pocket clip. Yeah, this thing is heavily milled and contoured, and there's some weight relieving on the inside. There's a lot going on here. Also skiffs within the pivot, and yeah, all of that for, I think, including the skiffs, this is still going to be well under $100, which is insane. This is a knife that I actually threw in the pocket for my wedding. So I think that's the only significant thing about this knife, is that I had it when I got married. So there's that. But if you like the look of it, this one is just a really, really easy recommendation if you want something that looks a lot more expensive than it actually is. Like, this looks like a knife that is like $300. Like, realistically, if this was like super, like, let's say you remove that Sitivien logo and you put like Remet or Bestech, this just as it is, this is already above a $250 knife. But because Sitivien made it and they have their questionable, quality control and their heat treat, that's why it is the price that it is. This guy right here, actually this was supposed to be the last one, but not a big deal. The FM1 by Cold Steel. Yeah, I guarantee not a single one of you would have ever thought a Cold Steel would make it into a gentleman oriented I guess show here or episode here on the channel. But yeah, the FM1 by Cold Steel Knives. Oh man, this is a wonderful piece. This comes in two variations: full silver or fully blacked out DLC. I opted for this one, of course, because their execution of their semi-polished tumbled blade, I think it's to die for. I think it's gorgeous. And then the titanium scales here, very slim, very nicely softened out on all the edges and everything. I've gone ahead and done a dual finish anodizing job on this. So in one light, it's gold, and the other light, it's blue. Yeah, pretty cool, right? It's fun to do that. Like that quite a bit. Just a little bit of like hand sanding with like 3000 grit wet sand, and I was able to achieve a pretty unique finish. I'm very happy with how this thing came out. Beautifully welcoming to the pocket. Thick pants, slacks, work sport slacks, shorts. This thing is awesome in pocket. Here for deployment, you just have studs. This is a fully ambidextrous knife, because you do have the Atlas lock mounted here on the spine. You pull down on that. I'd say the jimping on that is leaves a lot to be desired. The jimping on this was done by a 2-year-old in Taiwan, most likely. I am not super pleased with it, but it works barely. That's just my opinion. You get used to it, but that was one of my biggest gripes when I first got this knife, is that the jimping was all crooked and jagged looking and just not deep enough, in my opinion. But you get used to it. It works just fine. Not the end of the world. S35VN on the blade here, and it is quite robust and still having plenty of height. So this is a full-size knife. Like, you can get a lot of work done with this thing, and it doesn't even weigh all that much, because this is very, very simply constructed. No internal milling on the titanium scales, but you do get a little bit of, I guess, weight relief through this lattice milling pattern that's here on the outer scale. Both sides. Let's take the weight on this. I think this thing was just above 3 or 3.5. All right, so just under 4 ounces. Not bad, but this one is kind of heavyweight in a way. But even still, I have thrown this in the pocket with some slacks, and it doesn't make it sag all that much. I get maybe like 1 or 2 little creases. This knife, I'll link it down again off of Amazon, because it's the easiest way to get this. The price fluctuates quite a bit, but the absolute cheapest I have seen this knife for is about 150 bucks. That is one hell of a deal for what you're getting here. S35VN, a full-size freaking blade, and heavy-duty locking mechanism here. that was essentially built by the same designer, Andrew Demko, for the one that built a lot of really cool locking mechanisms for cold steel. And it is just wrapped up in this nice little slim package. My unit came off-centered, and it has yet to ever correct itself, and that's just what it is. So a couple little quality control things when it came to this particular one. The not so great texturing for the Atlas lock itself, and a little bit of maybe a warped blade, or maybe just not the most perfect machining for fit and finish. But you know what? I still love this thing. Super easy to use and manipulate. Looks great while doing it, and is nice and slim in the pocket, but still very, very comfortable in hand. Last but most definitely not least, one that's been in the collection for quite some time, and I still have yet to refurbish these scales because it's been kicked around quite a bit. But this is the original button lock one by Elementum. This one didn't take off all too well because it was seen in the community as sort of a questionable deployment knife because it was truly a button lock, meaning that you cannot open the knife without pressing that little button right there. It protrudes out quite a bit, nice and comfortable. You're not going to end up pressing that when using this thing unless you like have your thumb over like that, then yeah, it's going to come down on you. But you know, if you're gripping this thing like a normal person, or even in the forward finger grip, yeah, it's good. Hollow grind PVD stonewash blade, 14C28N. Oh my god, this thing is a dream to cut with. It is just such a wonderful, wonderful blade shape to use. Very, very thin behind the edge. Very delicate tip. Wouldn't be doing sort of any kind of like hard duty task. But again, this is in a gentleman classification video. I do have some nice little jimping there on the spine. I do have skiff bearings within the pivot. I have option to put some Flightanium scales here that I've done some hand polishing and blue anode to, as well as a titanium pocket clip that was also black coated and stonewashed to make this thing a full T8 build, which yeah, this thing is essentially perfect in my eyes now, with you know the couple little upgrades to it. Steel liners that do protrude. There is some effort for weight relieving, but this one's also kind of on the denser side, but it is of course a full-size knife right here, and in my opinion a very classy looking full-size knife that is going to draw a little bit of attention just because of how you deploy it and the sound that it makes. But I think that it is quite a conversation starter in my opinion. 4 ounces, so just a hair above that FM1 right there. So let's get all these guys back out. Oh, I didn't even mention how much the that one costs. So with just regular micarta or G10 scales, because it comes with 2 different options as well as 2 different blade finishes, the black and then heavy acid stone wash tumbled, it's about, I don't know, like 67 or maybe $70. The Flightanium scales are going to run you probably about as much as the entire knife itself plus the clip. So yeah, that gets a little bit up there. This ends up becoming a more expensive knife than this. So we'll kind of have like this, but still categorized as like, let's do by size, I guess. These all gonna fit? No, they're not all gonna fit. There's a little bit up, this one a little bit up. This one right there, this one right here. There we go. And yeah, so that is it. 5 knives out of my collection that I consider to be nice little gentleman knives that can or cannot break the bank. So I understand some of these are a little bit out of the price range of a lot of people out there. These are really just enthusiast knives and just kind of showing off the things that if you were to pocket check me at a family event, I'd be carrying one of these essentially. So that's what this is. But I love all these knives. These are incredible knives, very, very easily recommendable. They all have their little quirks, little downsides, but they're still wonderful, wonderful pieces to have. If you don't have any one of these, I will do my best to link anything and everything I can down in the description. Most of the links will go to help and support the channel with a very small percentage. That's not coming from you directly, that's coming from affiliate processing links and things like that. So that is essentially it. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing because I have plenty more videos and content coming your guys' way. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.